Japan is renowned worldwide for its superb automotive industry, quality electronics, its feudal history steeped with samurai, as well as anime, martial arts, and delicious cuisine. However, little is known amongst the general population internationally about Japanese politics and citizen activism. Japan does well to keep out of the media spotlight when it comes to its political landscape, though don't take that to mean it's all peaceful. There has been numerous protests and movements in the post-war period as Japan's political landscape was changing. Japan went through a major change as it moved away from its feudal rule to a more Western-style democracy. 1889 was Japan's last year in the imperial Meiji, before the democratic system was installed. This period saw political power with the Japanese emperor. In 1890, Japan's first parliament, the Diet, was formed, still within the Meiji period, however. The two major parties of the Diet were the Liberals and the Progressives, and both were made up by Japanese elites. Japan was still under imperial rule at the time. True democracy found its feet after World War II under American occupation. It was during this post-war period that citizen movements also found their feet. Union-organized protests began in 1946. These protests were about working conditions. The protests led to economic issues of sorts. This resulted in the creation of the Unique Enterprise Union. The Unique Enterprise Union saw a sharing of power between management and unions. The 1960s saw many political movements performed by citizens. The forced resignation of President Kishi, following the Kishi Initiative, which invited a United States military presence to Japan, is an example, as it had angered the population into serious protests, ultimately forcing Kishi to resign. Also during the 1960s, the leader of the Japanese Socialist Party, Asanuma, was assassinated by a 17-year-old militarist nationalist. This was due to the resurgence of the right wing and Asanuma's communist beliefs. Take a look at the violent footage as the action was caught on camera. This was not the only example of youth taking drastic action on the political scene. In 1968, a group of militaristic student protesters called the Zengakuren did such an outstanding job in protesting that they were able to seize the grounds of Tokyo University, Japan's leading institution, shutting it down for an entire year. To the students, the university was a reflection of Japan's elitist parliament. Citizen movements were formed as a result of the needs of the general population. In the words of Dr. Walton, these were political campaigns by apolitical people. Though many of these movements forced the hand of the government, they are definitely not an alternative to a political party. This is because citizen movements are mostly single-issue focused and are only concerned with local grievances. The Zushi movement is a fine example. It empowered women to initiate a green environmental movement, and they proved that they were up to the challenge. They fought for their civic rights and democratic values, as they stood in the way of the government's plans. Those citizen movements are great for local affairs that do not cover politics at a national level, though, in some cases, what started at local level was implemented nationally. The difference between local and national politics is simple. National politics focuses on issues that would have impact on Japan as a whole. In the case of the Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP for short, when in power, they were economically focused to rebuild a broken country, and doing a fine job at it. Local politics, on the other hand, is dominated by small matters that do not have bearing on Japan as a whole. This would involve traffic matters, pollution, and sanitation issues. This is where the progressive parties made ground. They took local matters seriously and by 1973 there was a progressive mayor in 6 of Japan's major cities. The pressure mounting on the LDP forced them into taking more notice of local issues. The LDP introduced pollution controls in cities, as well as a social security system and free healthcare for the elderly. All of these had arisen from local matters. Opposition political parties have a role to play, as was made clear by the progressive parties. They put pressure on the elected party by supporting local movements, providing the population with what they wanted. The popularity of the progressive parties forced the LDP to begin acting on behalf of the interests of locals on a national level. As previously mentioned, people are able to act out their political interests in Japan through citizen movements. Though most were the creation of women, men too were able to voice their political opinion on local matters. Even students took political interests seriously, as demonstrated by the Zengakuren. Citizen movements are not a thing of the past either. The 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster launched massive protest. The most notable citizen movement created concerns evacuation from the irradiated zone, which seems impossible for many people. As Japan moves into the future, its political landscape will continue to be scattered with citizen activism, as they protect what they believe in, and as long as an opposition party exists, their cries will not fall upon deaf ears.